Okay, it was when I knew I was sickle cell anemic. It was when I was in my primary 5 getting to JSS 1 that I discovered myself that I was anemic with sickle cell. And then in the secondary school, it wasn't the type that bothered me a lot, because once upon a time there was a doctor, one of my special doctor, he's late now. He told my mommy, as of then when we used to go for checkups in the hospital, that it was sickle cell anemia. But as of that time, there was a cell, an R cell in my body that was a bit controlling the pandemic or the anemic in the body, that doesn't make it as in bother me or disturb me as usual. So this cell is like it's called the R cell, but I don't know what the meaning is. But it's like it resists some parts of the pandemic, as the part of the anemic of the sickle cell anemia, not to rise as frequent as others used to have it in their body. So at times when we go for checkups, most of the times they usually delay us in the hospital, and most of the times it was as of the doctor that discovered that the cell is the one that has been resisting the cell, the sickle cell anemia, not to rise as in over the body cells. So it was as of that time that she was told that the R cell is the one that has been resisting it. So I don't know if it is called the R cell resistant cell, but I'm not sure of it. But I've seen some of this R cell in some of my textbooks that is a kind of the cell that has sometimes deregulates some aspects of diseases in the body system. And most of the times, and as at that time, I do call it the resistant cell because it's R. That's the reason I hold it as the resistant cell, which is the R cell. But growing up as a sickler, most of the times, it's not easy at all. It's not easy. And as of that time, when I knew that I was anemic with sickle cell, it was in my primary 5, then it was in my JS 1. It wasn't disturbing me as of that time. It was recently, a year back I felt ill, and it was, I think, some parts of the crisis. There was a time again in 2009, the crisis stood up as of that time, and the one that is usually bothering me, that usually bother me, is not the one that is as other sicklers do have their own, which is monthly or sometimes in 2 months. It disturbs them. But mine, I can even stay up to more than 4 or 5 years. It won't disturb me as though it's sickle cell, as others do have them. But I don't know if as of now it's still deregulating. I think it's still deregulating, but I'm sure of it. It's not as prominent as it used to be when I was little. From my play class, I think, to my JSS 3, I've not seen any discrimination as of that time. But when I went to SS 1, there were a little of this discrimination, but not very frequent. Because most of the times when it was a boarding house, and you know how it is in the boarding house. Things are being tough in the boarding house, and we know those maltreatments, those ill treatments that one will get from his seniors and also from the teachers in the school. But my own was a bit different as of when I was in school. Because when I went to the senior secondary school, it was a boarding house, and then the class, most of our class teachers were told about it, and then some of the punishments that one undergoes is not as prominent or as difficult as other students' own will be. So being with the sickle cell anemia, life has been a bit a kind of some little retardation that one gets from people around him or around her usually do makes one to think sometimes otherwise, or sometimes think that why would life be like this with this sickle cell anemia. And most of the times I do find it in myself that I should not give up. I should not look down on myself, and I should also ensure that what I have in the future is greater than the one I had behind. So I always look up to the future than putting myself in the past. Most of the times, sometimes, there is this pity. If the those people around me knows that I'm anemic, sickle cell anemic, there's this pity they do have for me. But most of the times, I don't usually put it on an open ground for them to know. So most of the times, we do behave as if everything is just normal. But when they know, there's this pity they do have on one, and then those treatments usually makes me feel as if sometimes, do I belong to this part of the world, or should I get myself executed? Or most of the times, I do feel that this sickle cell anemia, is there anything or any treatment, if possible there is, that one can get that will take this anemic out of one's body? But it's not possible as of that time, and even up till now. One have to live with it, and then to try to deregulate it by taking some certain drugs or some certain multivitamins that do depress the sickling agent of the sickle cell anemia in one's body. So there's this folic acid that one do take, and B complex, almost every day to deregulate some of the aspects of the sickling agent in the body. Before my parents' marriage, mommy knows about her status, but daddy don't know about his own status. So it was after the marriage they went for the test again, both of them as of that time, and then they discovered that daddy too, that has been thinking he wasn't a sickle cell carrier, was known to him that he was a sickle cell carrier. And then mommy has known her own situation long before their marriage. So as of then, being with the sickle cell doesn't make me downgrade myself or look down on myself. But I've always been looking up that one day things will get better for me if I always ensure that every care that has been given or every drug that has been given, I will take it accordingly and according to how it has been prescribed, so that the body system or the sickling agent in the body will always be subsiding, so that the anemic will not even rise again to another stage of being falling ill again. When I was in school, there's this study we had in biology concerning the genotype and phenotype of humans. And then when an AA get married to an AS, they usually have normal children. The sickling agent is not overpowered because they have the A genotype in the body system. And then being AS and AS, there's likely possibility, according to biology, there's likely most possibility that the first child, usually most of the times it has been gambled about it, but most of the times the first child don't usually be a sickling child. But as of sometimes, because it is being said, there's a calculation that has been said that is it one in 1,000? I think so. 1 in 1,000 of couples do get their first child as a sickler. So the rate of the first child being a sickler usually is at a very low rate, because when you add the genotype together or the phenotype of both parents, mostly the first child is usually an AA child. Maybe the second child will just be the child that will be a normal child but with an AS genotype or phenotype. And most of the times, it's like it's been just as it is being said. It is one. I think I'm not sure of the calculation, but it is one. I think more of 1 in 1,000 children that is the first child with a sickle cell anemia. People have tried to gamble the situation, but gambling it is not seriously an issue that one needs to dwell on. What one needs to dwell on, if both parents are having the sickling cell pandemic or the sickling cell anemia, both the second genotype or phenotype is S, maybe both parents should kind of try to do away. But it's most of the times, if they have those love for each other, most of the times it's usually very difficult to do away with the relationship. But it is the best way to do about it. One needs to do away with those kind of relationships. But in some cases, once the love is there, they can do it, they can be in the relationship, and at the same time, they can try to handle their cases together if they have any case of those children with the sickle cell anemia. So if one will say one should gamble about it, I don't think it's one of the best issue to talk about. It's better to allow the relationship to go, do away with the relationship, or allow the relationship to go. But most of the times, parents do want to always, when the love is there, they will think that this thing is trying to derail them from each other or trying to put away their love. If the love is there, but the anemic will still come, I think the love should be a kind of cutoff. If that is what, to me, will be if that will be the situation, to me, it should be a kind of cutoff to do away with such cases of sickling children. When I was in school, my classmates, it was a boarding house of then, my classmates usually do protect me because of the anemic. They do protect me from other seniors that usually want to ill-treat other juniors of theirs. But most of the times, my classmates do protect my interest. As of sometimes, and most times, there are some punishments that one do in the school. Most of the times that is even very hectic. Very hectic, that a kind of frog jumping, weeding, and then there are some aspects of it that I usually do, but not as very hectic as other of my classmates or other students. usually do. When I'm tired, I do tell them that I'm already tired and my legs, maybe as of that time, are very weak. There is some certain age that they classify sicklers to live up to. I think it should be, I'm not very sure, but most of the times, is it mostly, some people say, is it 30 years? Or some said, is it 35? That the age of a sickler on earth will be. But mostly I do tell them or do talk to them that once one has always been on his drugs, the sickling agent in the body is usually minimized, sometimes to the barest minimum, that can even make one to live a very good and healthy life, though as other people do live in the society. When one is being treated, maltreated or ill-treated, most of the times they don't know one's condition as of that time, until maybe one has time to talk to them about it, or they know about it, or they will know about it through maybe some of my friends or some of the people that knows the condition that one has been going through. That is when the ill treatment, they will just subside the ill treatment as of that time, and then they will usually maybe try to tell other people about the condition, so that the treatment will always reduce even to the barest minimum, so that one will not be more ill-treated in the society just as they do to people. But once they know that one is a sickling patient, they will usually want others around them to know about it, so that there will be no of the ill treatment that they do give to someone in the society. There's this discrimination that mostly one gets when it gets to relationship and even up to marriage processes. There are some discriminations that one do get, but mostly those ones I have heard others talk about is that this marriage maybe will not work, or this marriage will have too many of sickling children, or mostly all the children might be sickling children. But most of the times I do see that when in biology, there was a topic in biology about genetics. When one do have his partner who is a sickler or who is a sickling patient, most of the times the other partner might not be a sickling patient, or mostly one will see that the other partner is kind of maybe has his own genotype to be maybe AA. I think that marriage can work, or that marriage is a compatible marriage. But mostly when the other partner is even a carrier, sometimes the marriage mostly do not work or will not work. But when the partners see that the love is there and they will need each other, so I don't think the sickness or the sickling sickness or ailment will stop them from being together if they wish to. But if there is a decision in both partners, maybe if one is not willing to, let the other one to try to forfeit the relationship. Those that have already been thinking of the negative aspects of sicklers, mostly I don't think they do think correctly. Mostly, there was one of my daddy's friend. He's also a sickler, and I think he was once an ambassador of a country. I think so. He was once an ambassador of a country to Nigeria. He was representing Nigeria in the other country. And so most of the times, when people do think that nothing good will come from a sickler or a sickling patient or someone who has a sickle cell anemia, most of the times I do think they are all wrong initiative or wrong motives of them to think such. Sicklers doesn't mean once if one is a sickler, it doesn't mean that you will just also downgrade yourself. Try to make sure that those people that have been saying that nothing good will come from a sickling patient, make sure that you yourself make yourself good, so that they will also look up to you. Though the sickling cell is even though the sickling agent in the body is also there, but don't put yourself down too much and make them look down also on one. But make sure that those things they have said, which is negative about the sickler, make sure you put yourself together. Make sure that you yourself move on, so that they will know that even though one is a sickler, doesn't mean that he cannot go to school, he cannot mingle with people, or even cannot even get married. We should not always allow them, even though as sicklers, to think that being in those positions that they are, that one cannot even do it, or even perform much more better than them that are already there. My name is Nalda Sarnap. I am a student in the University of Jos, and I am a sickle cell survivor, and I am still standing tall that in life I will also have many that will look up to me, not look down on me.